Welcome to the CEO of Destiny podcast, where you will find the tools to fulfill the purpose of your generation and wildly succeed in the marketplace. And now your host, Andre J. Benjamin.
Can you talk about like what got you, what led you to, how was it intuitive to next thing was to make some apps?
Well, a couple things happened. One, I was approached by one of my students, and he said, I have an opportunity to create, to get a grant to teach special needs kids and schools. So I said, well, why don't we do improv? So together we created a program to teach little games, and we broke down improv games into little tiny bits. And then I realized from working with the kids in the schools and the camps and other places and then I would bring it back to my students. They would go, oh my goodness, I need that too. So, part of so initially it came from helping the special needs kids for the activate your voice and how to do that. And also from people knowing from, as fellow trumpet players, when you're running out of air, you have to tighten your stomach muscles to push more sound out. Yeah. And I realized that when a lot of people don't use those muscles, so then they talk and then it falls away at the end. And so how to then integrate those muscles and use that. And that was a little exercise. So anyway, so I developed that really to help students and to help the kids, so that they could learn how to get louder at the end of a sentence rather than softer, because our emotions are usually at the end of a sentence, not the beginning. And then the other one, adding melody to your voice, there was a virtual conference that was kind of in the new stages of it. And I thought, well, why don't I do something? And I just put on, I had on a black turtleneck, and I had some white gloves and pulled my hair back and just showed how to do it like I was a mime. And then created that to, once again, to help the kids as well as help the students.
Yes.
And then, so I did that as the conference, and then created an app out of that. So that's how things sort of come out organically out of need. I don't try to capitalize on anything. I just sort of go, people need that. I'll do that.
When you take us back to a little bit to because I want to talk about kind of the future or also the process, if you could take people through and of course you have your books and all this, I want that we're going to continue to push because I want people to avail themselves of the resource, but how people could even get into the field, they get started where they would start from, but also kind of the future of the industry. I wanted to ask you about what makes a good audiobook experience, because you have a whole section about some of those just strategies and tactics and things that we should be aware of if a person is on the end of being the voice of that audiobook. What makes a good audiobook, and what makes one that is not as desirable? What have you found? Well,
and I'm in the middle of recording and editing an audiobook right now, so that's real top of mind. But you're the voice of the narrator. The author has that story. If the author wants to become another gender or a different age, then that's, but it's still coming from a place inside that author. And so the narrator is the most important part. That's the thread that connects us. And then we have the ancillary characters. And I think a lot of people just enjoy the process of showing off rather than the connection with the story. So I only work on things that I feel compelled to tell that story, that is resonating with me. And those projects seem to come to me because they resonate. But I think that there's certain ones that are just golden, and other ones you're going like, well, there's a nugget in there that I really like, or this is challenging me in a different area. So as long as you're getting something out of it at the end, then I think and the audience is always the most important. And we just have to remember that. And we're just a vehicle for providing something to an audience.
Well, I love that you spoke in your book about how instead of, if you just treat it as whether you're speaking or acting or whatnot, if you treat it that you're kind of speaking to a homogeneous, almost monolith, it's just lost. Versus if you are speaking to a specific, can you talk a little bit about that?
That's a great one, because people say, I mean, one of the directions a lot of people will say is like, talk to someone, but talk to someone when? That's the part that's missing. Because you know that even your loved ones, there are different times you feel a different way based on what's going on.
It's true.
And so if you just take that person as a general human being, and you don't take that specific moment, then it's homogenized as well. So instead, we're picking that specific time that opens us up emotionally. And it's funny, but we're more open when we're on the telephone than we are in real life sometimes.
Oh, wow. Can you explain why? Or just
when we've been trained by that the phone, it's okay to then share and change emotions, bing, 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 like a ping pong game. But other times, you're checking the body language, you're checking all this other stuff to make sure everything's okay, and it gets homogenized as well. But when you're on the phone, you don't see how the other person's reacting. So you're just going, really, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, I don't know. Oh, I guess what? No, really? We're just all over the map emotionally. We're on the phone, but imagine doing that in a real conversation. Really? You were like, oh, calm down. Yeah, it's too much. So, but because we know, well, with the exception of FaceTime or whatever, that it's auditory. So we need to do more. We were trained that way.
Yes.
So that it's really a part of our history and our evolution that we're working on. And so how we use that is what's important.
So what if you were giving someone someone's listening, someone's watching, and they want that process of I'm looking to monetize my voice. People have told me, maybe someone got stopped when they were in a grocery store because someone overheard their conversation and they said, have you ever thought about doing voiceover work? Or have you ever thought about doing, and they say, why? Do you have some for it? And then, no, I've never thought that. But what would be the process for someone who is, what would be like a 1, 2, 3 process to get someone on that road in that pathway?
Well, first of all, that's what has people open the door. But it also makes you an average person in the playing field. Almost everyone who's gotten into the voiceover world or the podcast world has been told that they have a good voice or they have good stories to tell. So now that's millions of people, right?
How do you distinguish yourself? Yeah.
So that's where you have to say, now, what is your point of view? What's your game plan? If you're just doing it for money, it's not going to come from the heart.
It's real.
You have to do it from the heart and organically, and then good things will happen from that. Maybe not in the time frame that you want. It might take longer, but you're doing it from a place that is where it should come from. Your heart and your gut.
So what's step 1 for me?
Step 1 is then what I usually do is say, let's work on technique.
Okay.
So that you understand so your brain is then being filled with what to do. And that's how to use the body, how to interpret the script, how do you use the instrument. Step 2 is then how do you find your subtext, that's where the making it mine comes in. And then step 3 is how do you add your history and your personality and your point of view to that makes it really unique to you.
So first step, and I'm paraphrasing for just to make it really simple for people, is you're saying they should, if a person is really interested in this, they should invest in going to go get trained. They should get trained because they have to develop their, as you said, what's your point of view? What is the driver for you to do this? Is this a casual interest, or is this really something that you're going to delve into that with a real strong desire to help others or to make an impact, because that's going to drive differently than, I need to keep I need to pay the light bill. And no disrespect to people that got needs and all, because we all have our stuff. But I'm saying if you're driven solely by the scarcity of I've got to pay for this or I've got to do that, you said it's going to come through and it's not going to last. Can you take us back to the emotion that you experienced when you started to get compensation from what your work, and how you knew that as a direction of like, okay, I added value in this area. I need to keep going this direction. This is crazy. People pay me for this and I'm good at this.
Well, I think that family is a reference to and a humbling experience. Because at the time I was doing this, the family members, not my immediate one, but others were just like, well, that's just talking. That's just hot air. They would rather see my elbow as an extra in a film because that's more tangible.
That was you. That's Elaine.
Then this hot air that kind of goes through the universe and it doesn't have anything you can hold on to or see. So I think, like hearing it on the radio or seeing it on TV, and doing that. But I think that that's also why I needed something tangible too, based on those experiences of how I was, that it's like, it's very hard to wrap someone's brain around. You're making money by talking. Right. So, okay. I think people now with podcasting has become a bigger thing. People are getting it. But I think prior to that, and especially when I started in the 80s, it was just like, what? That's really strange. That's why, like having done a bunch of toys, it's nice to hold that toy in your hand and have that voice that you've created come out of that toy because it's tangible. So we're in this very untangible place.
So how did that feel when you got, can you take us back to how you felt when you got compensated and then there was something tangible here? So it's like, yes, it was monetized. And then also, oh man, look, there's a product that goes with this. Here's proof of this concept and this work that I did.
So what I had to do was give it a value within what I wanted in life. So in the beginning, it would be like, okay, so that's a new television. That is, that's going to be a new computer. That's a camcorder. I gave it a value so that I could hold, that I could touch. So it still had to pay bills and other stuff, but I tried in my mind say, this is what I get from that.
That's good.
So then I knew if it's a painting or it's something else, that's what voiceover got me.
So that's cool. So then that plays as well into how you started to determine and know your own worth and your value, right? Mm-hmm. You started to know your worth and what it was that you would, okay, this is how much I'm charging for this because you started to attach value. Can you take us through that process? Because people have a lot of psychology around, they don't want to put like, I don't know. And, this almost like devaluation and false humility, or maybe it's genuine humility, but it's also a low self-value,
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do us a favor. If this was useful in any way for you, please go to iTunes and leave us a review. Reviews will allow others to easily discover the podcast. If you'd like more information and to receive a free download, rediscover your destiny, go to ceofdestiny.com. Thanks again and tune in next time.